at Jeff Ward Show. Have at it. I'm going to serve this up for a lot of you. So to get the Texas House, your political heroes, man, they are in, I think, new territory, at least from what I can remember, new territory. But let's think about this. Then I'm going to issue a challenge for all of you. I'm going to challenge you all to get the Texas House, you know, the righteous Texas House, to get them to unanimously kick you out. You got to be pretty awful. I mean, that is not exactly the most righteous group of human beings. I mean, they've kicked you out and removed your name from the Capitol and then head straight to the strip club. You must really, I don't know the last time that someone has been kicked out unanimously, but at your Capitol today, and I know a lot of people are going to pretend, well, see, Jeff, they've got some morals. Shut up. You've got to be kidding me, and that's where I'm going to issue a challenge. So in this moment, when we're supposed to, you the voters, when you're supposed to feel so good about the righteous moral crusaders at the Capitol, because they've kicked out one of their own, Jeff. They have to be moral. They have to stand for the right things. They've even kicked out the East Texas minister in a unanimous vote, 147 to zip, man. That's hard to do when you have an R next to your name. I think if somebody said, what's the over-under on somebody with an R next to their name and they happen to be a minister from East Texas, what are the odds of them getting kicked out 147 to 0 to the point that they're clapping while they remove your name? I mean, I would have taken, if we did buy sell on that, I am selling. I would normally say outside of a headless body in your car, you don't get kicked out for criminal or moral reasons. Are you kidding? They did. So today, your political heroes kicked out the minister from East Texas, and it wasn't even close. They cheered. And I find it so sanctimonious and such BS, and I'll make you an argument why it's BS, and I'm not going to defend this guy by any stretch. I guess he's not going to be on the show now. Dang it. I'd reached out more than once. I'm going to tell you something. There's a backstory. Not a backstory to this. Long before the story came out about the state representative Brian Slayton of East Texas, I think it's Royce City, minister from Royce City, by the way. I thought this is a guy, this is no joke, this is a guy, and I've reached out to his office more than once to invite him on the show. I even tried this strategy of saying, because I think they would figure out that I may not be a huge fan of his, so I even tried this strategy where I sent an email saying something like, well, we're in agreement on secession, thinking they'd fall for it. He wanted Texas to secede for moral reasons. He's also a guy, this is no joke. I was begging for them to take it. I was begging for them to come on. Begging. No, I don't think he's probably going to do it. But he's also a guy that had advocated a heterosexual couples tax break. He's a piece of work. Is. I, of course, have been in favor of secession. That's Austin seceding from the rest of Texas. I've advocated that for a long time. He wanted the whole state to leave. Either way, Brian Slayton is out. He has resigned after the headline reads, after giving alcohol and having sex with an intern. The challenge is coming, voters. So let me start by saying this. It's pretty awful, pretty offensive. I hope this offends most of you. I hope it offends the voting public across the board. But tell me I'm wrong. That's the challenge. You're going to tell me I'm wrong. It's a challenge. So here it goes. You got to have done something pretty awful, and it's pretty obvious he has. He owned it, got busted for it. And no, I'm not going to deny that he should have been kicked out. But I'm going to set this up for you, and you tell me that I'm wrong. Committee of your political heroes to vote unanimously to kick you out for, I don't know if this is going to ever be criminal, but it certainly is every moral violation you can think of. Professional and moral violation you can think of. So here's where I'm challenging you. Okay, here it comes. So he was, let me just, in case you don't know the story of this, let's give you all the details. The General Investigation Committee had voted in a 16-page report that Slayton had sexual intercourse with the young staffer in his Austin apartment. The report said that because Slayton had primary responsibility for his aide, or the aide, she, quote, was unable to give effective consent, end quote. The committee found that on 3 occasions, Slayton violated the House personal drug and alcohol policy. Are you kidding? You guys are going to tell us you have an alcohol policy? Are you serious? Okay. That he violated the House personal drug and alcohol policy by providing alcohol to an underage person, and that Slayton harassed the aide by showing her an email from an unknown person that he likely fabricated that revealed information about the sexual encounter. Oh, he's a bad guy. Oh, yeah. The minister is not a good dude. An expulsion from the House requires approval from 2/3 of the 150 members. He got all that and then some. It was a shutout. You're done, and they're clapping. The House last expelled a member, 1927. Well, that's because they're so righteous, Jeff. Oh, shut up again. Shut up. Dude, I'm not going to let you take this moment and take them kicking out this trashy human being, the minister from East Texas. I'm not going to let you hijack this moment and pretend all of a sudden that they've got this moral conscience. This guy deserved to be kicked out. Don't get me wrong. He's trash. Got it. I wish he would have been on the show, but I don't think it's going to happen now. Pretty sure it's not going to happen now. But I'm going to walk you into this argument. So here we go. Here's my challenge. And don't tell me it's far off, because it's not. My challenge is not far off. So had the committee and then the House not voted to kick him out, okay? Not voted to kick out unanimously, got it, first time since 1927, not voted unanimously to kick State Representative Brian Slayton, a married minister from East Texas, who, by the way, I want to say it again, had introduced legislation to, my favorite piece of legislation was to give tax breaks to heterosexuals. Love that one. And had advocated Texas seceding. That guy, that guy. But had this righteous political hero not resigned, had they not done something since 1927, would he have been reelected? Would he have been reelected? I mean, if it was just a bunch of news, it was a bunch of terrible stories, it was a bunch of, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened, blah, blah, blah. Let's just say, as usual, someone doesn't get kicked out. Let's say they didn't remove him. Because there's somebody else they won't remove. I've noticed that. He has multiple felonies, and they don't remove him. This man has not been charged with a crime yet. May not be. I don't know. I just want to set this up. So had they chosen, I know that you got to play along with this, but had they not, I mean, this is the first time it's happened since 27. Had they followed the usual course and grumbled about it and pointed fingers and called the media names for coming up with this, and he did sermons and said, leave me alone, and cried, or whatever usually happens, and this man was up for re-election, you tell me he would not be re-elected. Go ahead, tell me. Because he would. Well, how do you know that, Jeff? I don't know, because you re-elect the one with the felony indictments over his head. That's why. Usually you re-elect the one who's indicted. So what's to say this guy, he would have been re-elected? Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm glad that he is made fun of. I'm glad that he is hopefully feeling the wrath of this piece of trash. Don't get me wrong. But had they decided not to remove him, that dude would be reelected by the voters of East Texas, and you know it. And we know that because you do it with the Attorney General. And he has felony indictments hanging over his head, and that's just a start. Either way, here was the very serious removal of formerly your bestest friend. Just like, remember in Stripes, they went around the barracks and talked about the bestest friends? Your best friend, Brian Slayton, when they removed him.
Have all members voted? They've been 147 ayes and 0 nays. The resolution is adopted. The chair directs the sergeant at arms to bar the former member from the chamber. the chair directs the chief clerk to strike the former member's name from the roster of members and to notify the governor of the House's actions.
Ding, ding, ding. You're out. You're out. Tell me, had they not done the ding, 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 had they just called him names and everything else, and the rest of us would say, just like we do, we should be saying about people in office all the time, now you know why I call them your political heroes, because they're trash. They're trash. They're trash. And you usually don't care. So don't tell me this man would not have been reelected. He would have been reelected. Absolutely. I'll make this into a, I can turn it into a buy or sell, just to do buy or sell. Let's go buy or sell, whatever. Let's do it.
Buy or sell? Are you buying or freaking selling? Make up your mind, dumbass.
I have so many issues. I mean, now I know where this is coming from, all the cussing. I've just noticed this recently. It's noticed that Ed Clements comes strolling in here. I bet he said dumb ass no less than 10 times. That's all I hear around this building. Everyone's calling each other dumbasses. Like, what's going on? He said it to me 3 times before he even said hi. Okay, buy or sell. If this was up to the voters, would the minister from East Texas be reelected? Buy or sell? I am buying that so hard. In some twisted way, I'm almost disappointed it didn't come up just to prove my point. But I'll have to make my point with someone else, which I feel pretty comfortable doing. Oh, they threw him under the bus. They did. They got him. They had a righteous moment. He didn't matter to them. That's why. He didn't matter. You know what else he didn't matter? He didn't have Donald Trump on his side. Not yet. Maybe he would have eventually. I don't know. But he didn't carry that big. He didn't have the big. Oh boy, that was going to sound terrible. Eesh. He didn't have the street cred, man. He's just some bumpkin East Texas minister. Does kind of what happens in East Texas. He's not like the Attorney General. I mean, he's got more crimes hanging over his head than Brian Slayton did, and he gets reelected by 30 points. So this guy hasn't been charged with a crime, I'm going to say, yet, and I don't know that he will. It's pretty awful. Don't get me wrong. It is really awful. But the voter in this state, here's why I'm buying. Because I know the song is going to play for the next 10 minutes. But the voter, I know it. I just know. I mean, is this a moment where we can say the Texas House is more righteous and more sensible than the Texas voter? I think it might be. That's not saying a heck of a lot. But had it come back to the voter, the minister would be right back in office and hitting on more young women. Man, anybody, who knows? He'd be living it up. Because he'd get reelected. Absolutely, he'd get reelected because the chief law enforcement officer in the state of Texas gets reelected pretty regularly, I might add. Faces, let's add them up. Voters, add them up. 2 felony indictments, a settlement, a recent settlement, which the debate is whether or not the taxpayers have to pay the settlement. A settlement with staff members for abuse of power within the office or something like that, in an alleged cover-up involving his mistress, who got a job with his top donor, who was on his way to prison because the feds raided his business as well. But that person won re-election by 30 points. So tell me the minister wouldn't win re-election. If the minister from East Texas had the same street cred as the Attorney General, had the minister from East Texas spoken on January 6th, he wouldn't have been kicked out. No way. That's how, yep, that's how cynical I am, yep. But he's gone, I know. They took his name off and he's out. But I'm just saying that history in this state tells us that if you give the voter a chance to put him back in, you'll put him back in. Pretty clearly. Remember, the Attorney General in the state of Texas, who has multiple felony indictments, whose donor is on his way, or I think he's on it. He might even be in prison already. Won a Republican primary by 30 points. 30. Won re-election by double digits again. So, By the way, I mean, surely if you've in this very moral moment that we're all feeling right now, surely we're all feeling the same way, aren't we? I mean, you really feel like, Jeff, you're a little too cynical about these political people. Maybe today prove to you that they are looking out to do the right thing, to send the right messages, that this is just unbelievably trashy, immoral behavior. And maybe, Jeff, just for once, you got to give them props for doing the right thing. Yeah, well, you know what I'm going to say. Shut up. Why doesn't the same standard apply to the Attorney General? Huh? What's the deal? What's the difference? I mean, if we're on this cleansing course that we're on over the Capitol, I'm just kind of curious why they don't even say anything about the Attorney General. Never even a bad word. Never. Eesh, that's pretty slimy. That's terrible. Nothing. I'm not saying that I'm going to give the minister from East Texas any ammo, because I think he's pretty well done. And they've run the bus over him for good reason. But I don't blame him when he gets in his minivan to head back to do a sermon at East Texas to tell people how they should act. I wouldn't blame him for thinking, wait a minute, they ran the bus over me, but the dude with multiple felony indictments is still the most powerful law enforcement officer in the state of Texas. I don't say they don't kick him out. They don't run him off. I don't even know who would. God knows the voter won't. So we're not going to get a chance to see it. Now, unfortunately, I don't believe he's going to be on the show to talk about his plan for secession. I was really counting on that. That was going to be a really good debate. And I guess we're not going to learn more about his heterosexual tax break proposal. That was going to be a good segment, too. I think we may be done, unless we do the Brian and Jeff show somehow. But I don't think that's happening either. I'm just not quite feeling the righteous love that I'm sort of getting from the Capitol today. That this is like a moment where they're gonna really make a big deal out of see what we stand for, and I just hope that people step back and say, wait, what do you stand for? Oh yeah, that Attorney General guy, right. Is it a good day at the Capitol? Do you want to say it is, or is it a worse day? But just tell me you agree. If he were up for re-election, he may run for another office, the people will vote for him. They will. If he were up for re-election, if this had not happened, had not removed his name today, first time since 27, he would have been re-elected, and he would have cried and done something on TV in East Texas, and they would put him right back in Austin.